What's up everyone, Esmond here from Super Duper Fab, and a very happy new year to you. Wishing you all the best for 2026. But we have to do a new tier list as well, because there's been some bans and Kano has left the format, so things have changed. It's a brand new year and a brand new meta, and I'm gonna do a super duper quick tier list. Well, I don't know how quick it's gonna be. We're gonna use some stats to help me out here because I haven't played much Fab since the bans. I've only really played 2 different decks that I will talk about. But I'm going to start at the super duper top tier. Let's try and establish what's at the top of the metagame. And I think based on stats, well, let's just look at Mario. Right, Mario, 54% win rate. He kind of got a bit of a ban, yellow and blue Orb Weaver Spinneret. I was playing the deck before those cards were in the lists, and the deck was still good. So I think they just go back to, throwing Helmet, getting the Graphene Chelicera back, and look at that. It's a whole page full of good matchups. Things like all the usual stuff, but also Kasai, which is pretty good. I think Oscilio, which is a pretty good deck. Dory, still above 50%. KO, above 50%. Verdance, Victor. A lot of things are just like 50% and above. And it's really only bad into Florian, Gravy, Uzuri. A little bit into the ninjas. So I think Mario, but this is an RTN tier list, right? So you can expect people to show up with Mario. I think Mario is a good deck. It's also a very fun deck to play. There's a lot of disruption. There's a lot of different angles you can attack. You have flick knives, you have the different chaos agents. It's all very fun. But talking about bad matchups, I think I am also going to put Gravy in S tier. Gravy lost Chart the High Seas, of course, in addition to Tipple. But it's still good. You don't have like the one card, Chart, find Chum, find a blue, play Chum, get 10 value. But you still have Chum. And playing 3 Chums, I think against any deck, it's gonna be hard to win against that. And Gravy just being Gravy, by default, locks out a lot of decks. A lot of decks that just can't clear allies efficiently, things that have to rely on pumps, things that don't have go again. So many decks, like all of these 50 and above, right? There's another whole page of 50 and above good matchups. You have a few more bad matchups, like Dio, Kasai, the Warriors are here, Oscilio is here, Prism is here. So a couple of more bad matchups, but those can also be navigated. It's a bit harder now without Chart. But I think Gravy is still gonna be S tier just because he just makes life difficult for a lot of decks. And I do want to put another hero in S tier because I like to have a triangle. And it used to be Syndra, right? It used to be like Syndra, Verdance, Gravy. Now Verdance has kind of fallen down. Mario has replaced Verdance. We need a new aggro deck. And for me, that is Dash.io. And this is a completely biased and personal opinion. But I think Dash.io is really strong. Dash.io still has a tutor, you still have Spark of Genius, you still have Max V, you still have Cerebellum. I think it's good. I think Dash is the premier aggro deck right now. It's one of the most difficult to pilot, most difficult to sequence aggro decks, but the ceiling is so high, and you do have disruption like Pulse Wave Harpoon, you have Heist, you have Boom Grenades off the top, letting you have an extra intellect. Just knowing what's on top of your deck is so strong, and having access to an entire fridge, including Crown of Providence. There's just so many good things about Dash.io right now. You do face issues still into things like Warriors, like Kasai, Florian, Dory, Yao. All the fatigue decks are still difficult. So maybe if you're gonna fight a lot of, if you think you're gonna face a lot of Guardians, if your meta has a lot of Florians, maybe Dash.io isn't that great. But there are ways to build Dash differently. There are ways to pilot Dash differently to help you get an edge in those matchups. So I think if you're a Dash.io pilot, if you are confident, and maybe if you think there's a lot of gravies, you can bring Dash.io. All right, so those are going to be my top 3 decks. I will try not to put any more decks in there. So let's look at what's almost at the top. And I think we've talked a lot about Florian. And if we look at the matchups from Fab Blazing, this is the past 14 days, right? Talisha, we sorted by win rate. I took a look at this just now. Florian is way up there. 59% win rate. The matchup spread is so good. You have so many good matchups. Everything is green. Everything is almost green and yellow. It's only really bad into what? Victor, Feng, and Techlovossen, which I will talk about. So Florian is up and coming. I don't know how badly the root-bound carapace hit was, but it seems like he doesn't care. He just has other 4 blocks that you can put in. So Florian definitely has to be up there, almost at the top, kind of targeting the top, targeting everything around it, targeting most of the bottom decks as well. Maybe Florian is top tier. I just haven't played enough. I'm not super sure. But it seems like based on stats, Florian is very good. And let's just look at like the top 3, right? Top 3 based on win rate, we have Valda and Victor. After that, it's Mario. Oh, we can even look at more of these, like Verdance and Kasai. So Valda, I've played against a couple of Valdas. Valda, especially I've played a lot of Dio, right? You draw cards, you give Valda Seismic Surges, and then you just get hit with a dominated Boulder Drop or something dumb like that. So I can see the appeal of Valda. She's a Guardian. She has good cards, right? I think maybe people have, with the loss of Kano especially, and more warriors coming out, things like that, Valda seems to have gotten better, targeting things like Florian, targeting Verdance. So yeah, Valda seems to have a pretty good matchup spread overall. I haven't lost to Valda yet, so I don't quite see it, but I will follow the stats because Valda can be annoying. So I'm going to put her right below Florian. And after that, who did we have? We have not Kasai. Victor. So look at that, top 3 decks, all kind of slow, grindy-ish decks that can also kind of pivot, that have good value propositions. Victor, you got things like Golden Sun, you got things like Test of Iron Grip. You can put in more go again cards to deal with gravy. You can fatigue them. You've got different hammers for different situations. I don't know much about Victor. I don't like playing against Victor as Dash.io. But I can see why Victor is good. And I've seen a lot more Victor coming up, especially in armies as well. So yeah, could be Guardian's time to shine. Could also, well, before I wanted to talk about Kasai, but Verdance is before Kasai. So let's talk about Verdance. I think Verdance, even though like she's lost the root bounds, you still have Storm Striders. And it seems like people are compensating for the loss of the root bounds by putting more earth cards, being a bit more aggressive, really trying to get their opponents down to kill range as soon as possible, and then just using Storm Striders to finish them off. So still, the numbers are still decent. She's still almost at the top. Yes, I think she's lost a bit more than Gravy, definitely lost more than Mario. But Verdance is still good into a lot of decks. 54% win rate. If we look at the matchup spread here, I think there's so many green matchups as well. The bad matchups, Gravy, Syndra, Prism, maybe Florian, those bigger heroes that you're going to see. So if you don't expect a lot of Gravy, as usual, Verdance might still be a good choice for RTN. And then let's talk about Kasai. Because I've been hearing a lot of things about Kasai. People have been asking me a lot about Kasai. Because Kasai seems good. Kasai has many ways she can kill you, right? Blood on her hands, raise an army, poking you to death with Centauri Sabers. Oh, I saw a really bad matchup in Mario. I think the thing about Kasai, it looks like, she's not great into some of the top if you agree with my tier list, like the top decks, Florian, Verdance, Mario, I think Oscilio is quite strong as well. So some of these are really the top decks. And maybe you're good. I mean, you're definitely good into Gravy. You can clear allies quite efficiently. You can farm them for copper and gold. So I think Kasai is really, you're kind of targeting some of the top decks, but mostly you're getting a really good matchup spread overall. There's a lot of good matchups. Like I said, you have good numbers, you have different ways to finish off the game. So I think Kasai is good. Let's talk about Oscilio, because I said Oscilio was good, right? I almost put Oscilio in S tier because I actually lost to Oscilio twice at the ProQuest Plus after Battle Hardened Singapore. Jacob Clemens was piloting Oscilio. I was playing Dash.io and I lost to him twice. Once in the final Swiss round and then once in the quarterfinals at the top 8. So I think Oscilio really deserves to be somewhere up here. I don't think like the statistics show that. Let's just do a quick check. Oscilio, 50% win rate. I mean, maybe, like, I think Oscilio is kind of like the new Kano, right? You still have that big combo turn. Sometimes you do a smallish combo, like 20 plus damage, hopefully 30. But sometimes you just kill someone from 40, you do the whole, I don't know, blast to oblivion, somersault, draw a card with Sigil of Brilliance, or you do a whole Gone in a Flash combo that goes like, you send it for like 8 times or something. So yeah, it's going to be good into the slower decks, definitely going to be good into Gravy. And I think it just forces your opponent to have interaction. If you're playing a deck with no interaction, if you're just trying to race, you can lose. Because if they find the combo fast enough, they will just blast you like Kano. So let's look at some of the bad matchups. Those with disruption. You've got Mario, you've got Yal, even Slippy, Prism. Yeah, I guess Prism makes sense. Valda, KO is there, Dash.io is there, whatever. That's the thing though. I think Oscilio just forces you, like, even if I'm playing Dash.io, right? I just have to have like 3 null time zones just because I don't want to lose to Oscilio. So all my Kano slots have kind of become Oscilio slots, in a sense. All right, I think we can talk about some random ones now. Maybe let's talk about Techlo. Not random. I purposely chose Techlo because I said I've been playing 2 decks, right? First has been Dash.io, but I've also been playing quite a bit of Techlovossen. I am a Techlovossen enjoyer, and you know, Techlo was great during heavy hitters when Warriors and Guardians were doing so well. And now, if we look at the top, there's Kasai, there's Victor, there's Valda, there's Florian, right? Slower decks. The meta has slowed down enough for Techlo to feel like he is playable. Let's see if we can find him. 0.5% of the meta game. And not many green matchups, but also just not a lot of games played, right? 430 matches, 42.8% win rate. Good into Bravo, Betsy, Pleiades, Kasai, Valda, Florian, Tough Nut, KO, Huntsman, Puffin. I mean, I think there's a way. I think there's a way. And I think, I mean, okay, Techlo, okay, let's just put Techlo far below the top. Okay, I admit he's far below the top, but he's looking at some of the top decks and he's like, I can beat that deck. But also he just loses to Oscilio. I think he just loses to Dash.io. Gravy is tough. Mario is tough. Verdance is tough. A lot of tough matchups. But maybe if you know that your RTN is just Kasai and Dory and Florian and Victor, why not bring Techlovossen? Right? And there are a couple of ways you can build Techlovossen as well. You can boost, you can go full control, you can do a hybrid, you can go pummel. I think there's something there. And of course, LSS has said with Compendium, Techlo is going to get a couple of cards. And I'm super excited for the tutor. Man, I can't wait. All right. That's all the exciting things. Now let's just move into the other heroes. Slippy sucks. He got an armory deck, but he still kind of sucks. You know what? Let's do things scientifically. Let's start at the bottom of win rate. All right, bottom of win rate. Oh, all right, max. Sorry, Slippy. I meant Max. Max got an armory deck. Max kind of sucks. Max has to play hyperdrivers. Hit the gas though. Hit the gas is a powerful card in conjunction with hyperdrivers in your banish zone, and of course, if you are in the Nitro Mechanoid suit. So a lot of conditions for that one card to be good. But when it's good, you just destroy the opponent. You send the Mechanoid 5 times. You kill them from 40, and just transforming into the Mechanoid gives you like 50 value if you have it over 4 or 5 turns. I am going to do a free primer on Max. I'm going to post it for free on Metafy. So if you want to be notified as soon as I post that, go subscribe now. I mean, subscribing is free. If you want to become a paid subscriber, then you can discuss Max with me on Discord, and you also get a lot of videos that you can watch on Metafy. But yeah, Max is excitingly bad. Moving on, Tough Nut, Lyeth, Leviah, Pleiades. Honestly, I don't have much to say about all these decks, but I'm going to put him below Max. I'm going to put Pleiades above Max. Lyeth, I think Lyeth has some legs, right? We've seen Lyeth on stream, and I've played against Lyeth in Armory as well. I think Lyeth has issues, but it can do some really powerful things, and stacking all the pumps on top of like a confidence token is kind of backbreaking. It's just that I think the consistency is not there. You do have to take like full setup turns and things like that. And a lot of the same things seem to apply for Pleiades. So kind of makes sense. Leviah, I just haven't seen a lot of Leviah. I don't really know what happened to Leviah, but she's down there. Other heroes that are irrelevant. Bravo, irrelevant. Uzuri, irrelevant. I think Phi, losing Bran has made him irrelevant. And hey, Slippy is here. Slippy just got an armory deck, like I said. But it's still kind of bad, right? It's all 0 for 3s. Yes, you have Go Again. Yes, you have Mantle. Yes, you have Horus. But you also have Mario at the super duper tippy top tier. And giving Mario Go Again, even because Mario can use the same things that Slippy has, right? You have Madness. A lot of new cards can also replace what he lost. So yeah, Slippy, I think as long as Mario is one of the top decks in the format, Slippy just cannot be near the top. All right, irrelevant decks. Irrelevant heroes. Uzuri. I mean, look, irrelevant because I don't play them. I don't see them around. But if you are a specialist, maybe not for Phi. I think Phi has just lost too much. But, you know, things like Uzuri, things like Bravo, heroes like Leviah, if you're a true specialist, you believe in these heroes, you've only played them since they were released, why not bring them to RTN? Why not see how playable they are in this new meta? Because things have slowed down a lot, things have toned down a lot. And maybe you have a shot as a specialist with these heroes. I don't know why Kano is here. Kano is very far below the top. Well, actually, Kano has ascended, so he should be way on top. Anyway, Techlo we've talked about, very good deck. Marlin, Boltin, and Vatradi. So, Marlin is good into Techlo, in case you didn't know that. Looks like she's bad into Mario, looks like bad into KO, Dio, so some of the top decks she's bad into. Boltin, also bad into Mario. Yal, also bad into Mario. And KO and Kasai. So, I think Yal was kind of better before the bannings. Because in Singapore, I don't know if people outside of Singapore know this, but during PQ during PQ Yokohama season, 4 PQ winners were on Yal. Full fatigue Yal, just, you know, things like all the 4 blocks, all the 4 value cards, and using Crown is it Crown? Using the Ice hit Coronet Peak to just get cards out of Syndra's hand, that kind of thing. So full fatigue Yao was there. But with the rise of Mario, with the rise of warriors like Kasai, I think Yao definitely has fallen quite a bit. But maybe kind of near the top of the bottom. does that make sense? All right, Boltin. Yep, Boltin got an Armory deck, and he will go next to Slippy. Marlin beats Techlo. I mean, that's not why I'm putting her there. But Marlin is interesting. Marlin has disruption, and you have big attacks. I think the issue with Marlin is that you have to keep a lot of your hand, right? And you have to find a way to load an arrow. So those things combined, like without 3 of a kind, sometimes your hands are very clunky. If you don't find a harpoon, your hands are clunky. There's just too many issues for Marlin right now, and I think that's why she's so low down. And we have Betsy as well. I think Betsy, Raina, Riptide, and Katsu are all kind of just too far away. Betsy, I don't know what Betsy does. I think she's bad into Techlo. We have Betsy, Katsu. I think Katsu is quite good actually. But if you're talking about aggro combo decks, I think Oscilio is better. And with Mario in the format, with Florian, I think Katsu is going to find it difficult. I think, well, 50% into Mario, but pretty bad into KO and Kasai. I guess he would be good into Gravy, I assume. I don't know. If you're a Katsu enjoyer, why not try Katsu? Have we talked about Olympia yet? Wait, Riptide and Raina. So the thing is, with Raina, right? Let's take a look at Raina. I think Raina is interesting. Because if we're looking at Guardians being on top of the format as well as Florian, does Raina stand a chance? I see a lot of bad matchups, but let's see good matchups. We have Bravo, Techlo, Huntsman, Yao, Riptide. These are all pretty good. Victor is 50-50. I guess Oscilio can be quite bad. But I mean, Raina is a brute. He has good numbers. I guess he's just too fair, and Intimidate is just not good enough. So let's put him somewhere there. Riptide, I think Riptide is now just an aggro deck. I don't see other builds of Riptide around. 46.1% win rate. Matchup spread. Maybe if you're targeting things like Prism, Dory, Dash.io, Verdance, Kasai, seems decent. I don't have a lot of experience with Riptide, obviously, but that's a lot of bad matchups. I guess you have access to Great Ball to stop D-Reacts. Maybe that's a thing. And you just go aggro. But until someone shows me that he's not too far below the top, I'm going to put him far below the top. All right, what's next? Based on win rates, let's take a look at KO is here, Huntsman. Oh, that's page 1. All right, Prism, Ira, Gravy. Oh, wow. Olympia has a higher win rate than Gravy Bones, even though, well, it's like 20, 60, 300 times less games. No, 30 times less games. But yeah, I think Olympia is just really far below the top. No one even plays him, so I don't know. Why does he exist, right? Prism and Ira. That's interesting. Prism, looking at the top matchups, Arachne 50%, Verdance 57%, Oscilio 57%, looks a lot better than Ira. Ira seems to struggle into a lot of things. I think Ira is a bit too fair right now. Like they're just better numbers heroes, and maybe the disruption isn't good enough into things like Dash.io. And Prism, of course, has lost Kano as one of the top matchups. But I think you can still bring Prism and expect to do well, especially for those hardcore Prism players. Prism still has really good numbers. It's still an illusionist. It's going to have really polarizing matchups. I think Ira is definitely below Prism, but still there. Like, Ira is still a good deck. Ira just has access to a lot of disruption and good numbers and very flexible stuff. So I think Ira deserves to be there. Vincent, I'm not too sure. Vincent, 50% win rate, 46% into Arachne, Mario, 34% into Gravy, good into KO. Interesting. Let's take a look, closer look at the matchup spread. Quite a number of good matchups. Syndra is there, KO is there, Oscilio is there. Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of disruption. Dash.io at 49%. Valda, Florian, Kasai, all in the 45-ish percent. So maybe Vincent is not too bad. Maybe it's not always gonna get fatigued out. Like, I've heard so many people say that, oh, you just fatigue Vincent. But if you're a good Vincent player, I'm sure you can play around that, right? Just like how a good Dash.io player plays around fatigue. So even though Vincent is not really at the top, based on the data, based on fabtcg's win rate data, we shall put Vincent above Prism. And then we have KO and Oscilio. Now, I think these two are really strong decks, right? KO has good numbers. Oscilio has, like I said, almost like a Kano feel. The thing about KO is that even though you do have so many good matchups, right? All these random decks, like Oscilio is there, Victor is there, but Huntsman, all these random decks, it feels like you are targeting a wide field of lower tier decks. And then Florian, if you expect a lot of Florian, which it seems like a lot of people are on Florian, Dash.io is there, Kasai is here, Gravy is here. All these are bad matchups for KO based on the data. And I mean, I agree. I've played a lot of Gravy, I've played a lot of Dash.io. It's pretty good into KO. And I can see why things like Kasai, even Puffin, Florian, Valda, they are good into KO as well. So it seems like you have a bunch of like 50-ish% matchups, and then you're just good into the rest of the field in general, but you're not really good into like the top tier. So I'm gonna put KO like at the top of the below the top. And yeah, I mean, KO is still not a bad deck, right? We've talked about Oscilio already. Oscilio is somewhere up there. I think, like I said, Oscilio just forces people to have space, have interaction with it. And now we can move on to page 1 of heroes that could be near the top. Let's start with KO, Underhanded Cheat, which is RKO. RKO, of course, you still have access to all the 2-for-8s. You still have the Nimby with the Nimbalism, 1 card 6. Ooh. I mean, the issue is that KO always wants to be at a higher life, right? So I would expect RKO to struggle into very fast decks, like KO, like Oscilio, even Fang, Kasai, things that can just poke him down, chip him down, make it not so easy to block. I think RKO is going to struggle into that. But it looks like you have a decent matchup spread. A lot of these slower decks, even warriors like Dory, seem to have a hard time into RKO. And yeah, you do brute things. You also can do pummelly things. I've played a fair number of games into RKO. I think he's alright. I would classify him somewhere around Vincent, I guess. So that seems fair to me. Alright, let's talk about Dory, Puffin, and Huntsman. Now, I think Dory is in a good spot. I actually think Dory is almost at the top, right? Dory it's 46% into Mario, but 73% into Gravy, and it's good into Dio as well. I think overall, Dory is going to have, that's a lot of good matchups. So a lot of good matchups. Bad into some of the top decks though, like Florian, Victor, Kasai, Verdance. But if you're expecting a lot of Gravy, more Gravy, if everyone's playing Gravy, why not play Dory? or Syndra. I don't think this is right. Well, it's very few games, but yeah, definitely not right. And yeah, Dio as well. Into decks that can't block or want to block from hand. Either way, Dory kind of does well. I think I would put Dory almost at the top. And I think Syndra as well should go there, even though Syndra got hit, right? We are seeing a lot of people still doing well with Syndra, 54.1% win rate, just over 50% into Mario, still good into Gravy, not too bad into KO. I mean, I'm sure there are ways to compensate, like playing more blues, right? To compensate for the bans. You can play more blues, you can swing the dagger a bit more. So I'm going to put Syndra almost at the top as well. And that's a lot of heroes almost at the top. So let's see who's next. I think next up we are going to talk about Huntsman. And I think Huntsman is not bad. Right? Huntsman is kind of a full fatigue deck. You have the new D-React, you kind of have a mill package going on as well. 69% into Dio, not too great into KO, but almost 50% into Mario. And I think we've seen Huntsman come up a bit. I've seen him at Armories as well. But definitely, I think below the top, not quite close to KO, further down a bit. And finally, we have two more heroes, Fang and Puffin. Fang, 40% into Mario. I like playing Fang a lot, right? 68% into Kasai, 41% into KO. The problem is that Fang doesn't have disruption. And if you don't have disruption, you're going to lose to things like Oscilio. You're going to find it difficult to race into Dio. I think Gravy is okay, but yeah, Oscilio is going to be difficult. And maybe, yeah, like Kasai is going to be good. Maybe if it slows down enough and you have time to have fealties and you don't face a Verdance that scours all your fealties away, maybe Fang is not bad. But I think he's in that same range as KO to me, where you're doing good numbers things. Fang, of course, has to get online first. But then you don't have as much disruption as like Vincent or KO. And you're just hoping to kind of raise them down in a sense. All right, finally, we have Puffin. Puffin, I've just never been impressed with Puffin. Did I miss Puffin? Oh, Puffin is here. The thing about Puffin is that it's kind of like a mid-range deck. You have the current builds at least. You play boost cards. You've got the zeros, the zippers, the throttles. But then you also have the cards that care about cogs, Zeppelins, of course you have Palantir, Dovetail, really strong cards. But because of that, you're kind of susceptible to fatigue because you're boosting. And then you don't have enough power to have really big turns, at least in my experience, because sometimes you just draw hands that don't do anything, like cog in the machine, a cog, and then you crank, and then you draw a blue 0 to 60 or something like that. I mean, I think it's not a bad deck. I think if you're a good pilot, if you get a bit lucky, you find the Golden Sky Warden at the right time, you make gold, and then Puffin has a hero power. That's pretty good. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to struggle into some of the top decks. Verdance, Victor, Huntsman, Dory. I think Dory, you can even go both ways. You can get fatigued, you can get outraced. Florian, I think all of these decks can just easily fatigue you. Easier than they can even fatigue something like Dio. But yeah, you seem to have, Puffin seems to have quite a decent matchup spread. And like I said, I think if you are a good pilot and you draw well, right, Puffin's not too bad. But she is below the top for me, somewhere around like RKO. Well, she loses to Huntsman, so below Huntsman. And I think that's it. I think that is my tier list. Yeah, RTN is here. Unfortunately, I will be missing the first 2 weeks of RTN. But this is also prep for me for calling Akihabara. I will be going there next week to play in the calling. And I'll be playing one of these two decks that I've talked about. I don't know, maybe Gravy, maybe Mario. I like all the three top decks. Please let me know your thoughts. Leave your comments down below. What are you going to play for RTN? And like I said, if you're a specialist, if you're super confident in your hero, you've been playing it ever since they were released, why not just bring it to RTN? Or why not just play something new for RTNs? I spent the whole of PQ Yokohama learning how to play Gravy, and now it's RTN season. I might just pick up a new hero and try to learn that as well. That's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.